Welcome to Real Life with Jenny. My name's Jenny Senaparatna. Grab your favorite drink, get yourself a snack, and we will get started. You guys, I am in a rut, and I am currently drinking Ceylon tea because I cannot quite get myself to let's try new teas. And because it's kind of one of those days, I actually just have a slice of cheese. So, very weird day, but let's get real. First of all, update again on the bird feeder. For all of those who really care, probably you don't, but for me, it is very exciting because it's my bucket list, right? So, yesterday, my husband sent me a picture while I was at Walmart of a squirrel on my bird feeder. Now, I have to tell you, some people hate squirrels, some people love squirrels. I don't know where you land. Doesn't really matter. Jenny is a huge squirrel fan. I was at Walmart and they had a little picnic table for squirrels that you could buy. And it took everything within me to not put it in I did not have a cart. Actually, I was carrying everything, which is actually why it didn't come home with me, because I'm like, how am I going to carry this and everything else I'm carrying? Because I came into the Walmart going, I'm going to buy one item, and then I'm walking out with everything kind of randomly stuck under my arms to try to keep it from falling on the ground. Anyway, yay or nay on squirrels is one of the things I kind of want to know. And do you have any ideas of how I could put up this little squirrel picnic table, because it's supposed to be connected to something and I don't want to connect it to my house? So anyway, all of that to say, let's get to the real point and let's get real. So I have been walking through craziness right now. We just finished May. They call it May, December, whatever they call it now, that it is the craziest time of the year. And you know what? For me, it's not stopping. We actually are booked every weekend all the way through the summer. My daughter has a ton of stuff going on. I feel like the dog has a schedule at this point. It is just very overwhelming. Um, and what's funny about that is I am technically not employed. Now, I do work and I have a lot of stuff to do for our ministry, and I am very busy with that, but I don't technically get paid. So, how am I this busy is what I think. And so what my husband and I we've been doing for years and years, is we are one of those people that, because we spend all day together, all three of us, except when my daughter was in college, we spend all day together. And so we used to, when I had a full-time job, we used to do family meals, and we would do, what are you thankful for? And we'd sit at the table and we'd eat our meal and we'd say what we were thankful for. And it was just such a beautiful thing that we talked a lot about and talked about our day. And when you have a really quiet child who is just kind of learning how to communicate, when they're younger, it was a really great way to kind of hear about what was happening in their day so that I could share what's going on in my day and find something positive in it. And same with my husband. So that was our tradition for a really long time. And for some reason, one day that switched, and I don't know how it switched. And now my daughter actually goes into another room and eats her dinner and watches television to decompress. And I think it's her really kind of rejuvenating time, because she's not here answering all of our questions or having to be involved in all the chaos that Kevin and I create. And Kevin and I have always watched a show during this time. We eat dinner, and it's the only time that the two of us watch television together. I watch television separately after he goes to bed at night, but we don't have the television on really any other time of the day. So it is kind of our time to watch a TV show. And we've watched a lot of different TV shows, and they've been, mostly I love the baking shows. Those are really fun. He's willing to watch those with me. Like the British baking show, he actually enjoys them. I think he actually even uses the music for a cue to go to sleep at night. So that's been strange then when you're watching it during the day. We watch some, Whodunit, Father Brown, Perot kind of things. We've watched those. We watched the entire new seasons of MacGyver. And when we finished, what we wanted to watch was on Netflix. And because my daughter's in the other room watching her Flash and Arrow, we can't watch Netflix because I only pay for the cheapest Netflix out there. Because I'm not going to pay, because I'm not going to watch it that often. It is the one time a day we're going to all be on the television for that one half an hour to 45 minutes, maybe even an hour at a crazy time. So I'm not paying extra for that. So we had to find something else to watch. And I hate baseball. Like, that has been something that I have not enjoyed. My brother played baseball. I love my brother. I went to every baseball game. I don't think I missed many baseball games from like his senior year all the way through college. Like, my mom and I drove all over the state of Minnesota following his baseball team. And now my daughter's going to that same school. So that's kind of funny. Anyway, but I just kind of, baseball became something that I had to do because I loved my brother, and I just really hated baseball. In fact, we have I think it's called the Target Field here in Minnesota, and it's been around for, I think, like 13 years, and I've never been to a game. Like, that is, I went to the Dome when it was there, the Metrodome, and I watched my brother playing it. I watched hundreds of games as a kid. I remember, the only thing I really remember about the baseball games is that I got a bag of licorice because my mom would bring in licorice and I just ate it. And so I think that was part of like, anytime I smell licorice now, I think about baseball. And my dad would have us collect all the cups. And so at that point, they like had special cups. I don't know if they do anymore. I haven't been to a baseball game. Who knows? And they leave them behind. And my dad would send us scurrying around collecting as many cups as we could. That's about all that I ever got out of baseball games. And so when we ran out of things to quote unquote watch, I know my husband loves baseball. Like, it is something that he's kind of almost given up for me because I so not enjoyed it. And so I said, sure, we can watch a baseball game. Let's do this. It was preseason when we started. And I found that when you're watching baseball and you can do other things, it's actually kind of interesting. Okay, let's not get out of control. I don't know that it's super interesting, but now we've been watching it since preseason, and we're watching the pre-recorded games because that's all we get for free. And I'm not paying the hundreds of dollars for baseball games. So we're watching pre-recorded. We watched 3 innings. I almost said quarters, but innings at a time because I'm really a football fan, but that's okay. Watching 3 innings per meal, and then we turn it off. The next day we pick it up. If it was a boring game, we move on to the next game. And it's actually been very relaxing. I have found kind of a interesting new side of Jenny. First of all, I realize I'm super competitive because they are teams I do not care about. I do not know the names. I have no idea what's going on. I mean, I know the baseball, I know all the terms and all the things because I've watched enough baseball, but I don't know anything about the teams. I know right now we're watching the Blue Jays, and I was like cheering my guts out for them. I'm like, yeah, this is awesome when they hit a home run. The game we're currently watching, only 3 innings in, it's now 11-0, and I was pumped. I was like, this is amazing. And I'm like, okay, you don't care about these people. Like, you don't know any of their names. In fact, I know one. We have the Minnesota Twins here is our baseball game, and I know one of their people because we watched them in preseason, and he got interviewed, and I was like, okay, you're kind of cool. I'll remember your name because you're one of my favorite places in the world, France. So there we go. That's the only baseball player that I actually even know a name. But I found that I'm super competitive, and that I'm like, wow, I care about when they drop the ball or when they throw the ball or they overthrow the ball or the poor catcher gets hit in the head. I watched that. That was nasty. And they showed it over and over and over again. I'm like, stop showing me having this guy get a concussion. This is crazy. Anyway, so I found that I'm super competitive. I've also found that the reason I didn't like baseball is because at that time when I watched baseball, you were stuck. Like there was nothing else to do. You needed to figure out kind of how to entertain yourself. Now I'm watching it at my house. I can get up. I can go get more food. I can play a game on my phone. I can talk with my husband. Like it is a full range of opportunity because it's not something I actually have to pay attention to. It is something that's actually enjoyable because I don't have to be invested and pay attention. It is a really slow moving game. And that is what I used to hate about it. And now with all the chaos going into my life, I kind of like the quietness. Now, why am I talking about baseball? Because I'm still not going to go out and probably go to a game. Let's just be completely real. Like, I just am not going to do it. First of all, it seems very expensive and I don't like to spend that kind of money. And second of all, I can't get up after 3 innings and be done for the time. Like 3 innings is about as much as I'm good with. Like that's okay. But the reason I'm talking about this is because there are things in our lives that we've kind of written off because we had a bad experience with them. It was like for me, every single baseball game I went to out of obligation more than anything. And I have found that for me, obligation does not spark joy. Things that are spontaneous, they tend to spark more joy than something that I feel like I have to do. That is just who I am. And now baseball is a get to, not something that I feel obligated to do. So it's sparking a little bit of joy in me. And so there are things that we have done in our lives that we've kind of just walked away from because we don't have time for it anymore. That was a different season. That was with somebody that we love that's normally not part of our lives anymore. They're just things that we walk away from because of different things. And I wanted to encourage you to sit down and watch a baseball game again. Now, that's not literally because I'm not like out there, hey, let's do baseball together. If you invite me to a game, if you're playing, I might come, but I'm not probably going to go to a game with you. That's not the point. The point is, what have you kind of walked away from that maybe you need to pick up again? Because there are things inside of you that it sparks joy for. And baseball has done that for me. I really have found that I like to be competitive when it doesn't matter. I know that I'm super competitive with games, and so we don't play a lot of games anymore because I get too competitive and it gets too personal. But with baseball, I don't have to worry about it. I'm not hurting anybody's feelings. It's wonderful. My husband's not, he doesn't care whether they win or lose either. So it's just a great experience. And I feel like I've reconnected. I feel like my husband and I can stop and I don't have to worry because like when we were watching MacGyver, I like MacGyver. It was very fun. But you had to pay attention to the plot. And I wasn't able to chat with him and talk about his day and how he was doing or, just what do you think about the food? I changed the recipe a little bit. I couldn't really do that now. Now I can do that with baseball because you don't really have to pay that much attention. So I'm finding new joy in something that I have put off for over 20 years and just said, yuck, I'm never touching that again. And so I'm encouraging you to pick it up again, whether it is a hobby or I've talked about going to restaurants that I used to love, but I have memories attached to them, so I stopped going to them. Whether it is, I don't know, a church or reading your part of the Bible that you were like, last time I read this, I felt really overwhelmed. Maybe you need to go back to it. Maybe you need to go back to some worship songs that you kind of overplayed for a while. Maybe you need to just start something new. I don't know what it is for you, but I'm excited to see what God can do. Well, you guys, that's all I have for this week. I know this was kind of a crazy one, talking about squirrels, talking about baseball, but really, I set something aside because it became overwhelming to me. And I just want to encourage you to step back into something that maybe you really enjoyed and see if it was that time and place and see if it will spark joy again in your lives. Because so often we walk away from something and go, ugh, yuck, I'm never doing that again. And then you got to try it again. I did that. I've been doing that for now a year and a half. And it has been an interesting journey of trying things that I was like, yeah, I have a very strong feeling about this. And sometimes they've changed and sometimes they haven't. And you try that vegetable again and you're like, yep, nope, I'm good. You're right, I don't like that. Or you try it again and you go, wow, this is actually better than I remember. So I'm encouraging you to pick that back up again. See if it sparks joy. See if it's something that actually can fit back into your life and try it again. And I encourage that in your spiritual life too, because we have written things off in our spiritual lives, whether we like consciously know it or not. I know that the book of Job is a hard book for me to read, not because of the content, but because of memories that are put with that. I actually have very vivid memories of Job when I was in sixth grade, and I have a hard time reading through it because all those memories start, bubbling up to the surface, and then I have to deal with them. And honestly, that's not a bad thing. Sometimes things like that, it's good to like bring them before the Lord again and to say, here, Lord, this is what I'm dealing with. It actually has nothing to do with the book of Job, but here are my emotions. And I need you to take them and help me process through them. So if you want to try something new again, I would really encourage that. I would really encourage you to allow God's creativity in your life to kind of eke you back to the book of Job or to baseball so you can start dealing with the emotions that are attached to that and have healing from the Lord in those places. Well, that's all I have for you this week. This time for real. You can find me at Real Life with Jenny on Instagram and Facebook. You can support this podcast, which I so appreciate everyone that's doing that, by buymeacoffee.com/Real Life with Jenny. You can also go to Venmo, and it's Christ Connection there, because all of my money goes to Christ Connection because then, it's all taken care of there. So anyway, that's just kind of here or there. You can also go to christconnection.cc/Jen. All of my info is there. Well, I hope that you do something. Like, I'm hoping that some of you fall in love with baseball again. Maybe you fall in love with a book of the Bible that you've never enjoyed. Maybe you fall in love with a place or a hobby that you've gotten rid of. I hope that you try it again. Let's see, as we allow God to continue to heal us and help us grow through it all, and you give it back to Him. You all have a great week.